everyone, it's Karen. I'm back to share a project I have created as a designer for Craft Supplies for You. Craft Supplies for You has 2 online stores, and I will leave the links to both the stores in the description box below. There are also a few designers that are creating beautiful projects for Craft Supplies for You right now, and I will leave links to their YouTube channels in the description box below. So please go over and visit them and see what beautiful projects they're making. I have been working on this project for a little while because it's had some levels of challenge for me. I got the idea of doing it's a dress form that also has a gift bag in the back. And the original idea came from Susie Crafter Designs, and I will put a link to her channel in the description box below. Hers was done with chipboard and cardstock for the dress form, and then she built the dress and the bag on the back and the dress in the front. So hers is different than mine, and she did not do a tutorial, so I just sort of got the idea and I build my own dress forms. And if you're interested in seeing how I do that, I'm going to do a short little tutorial at the end on how I build my own dress forms. And I've got it I've done it a few times now, and I have it sort of down where I think I've made it fairly simple process, and you end up with a dress form that you then can build your project off of. I'm just going to walk you through and show you what I've done here. So it's very hard to film, as you can imagine. I'm just going to take it, you're looking sort of down on it in a bit of an angle. I'm going to take it and turn it up to the camera here. And I'm going to start with the bottom part. You've seen some of the top, so we'll get to the details on that. But what I've done is I've layered a dress over a bunch of tulle to make a crinoline underneath. That's what gives it the body. And then underneath there is the dress form. And the dress form I made this time, I just used a dollar store dictionary, and I just slapped the pages on. I cut the back off the dress form so that I could attach it on the gift bag at the back. So you can see it kind of, this is where it went over the legs on the front of the Barbie. It kind of gives it a curve. And then I lined the inside with the same fabric that I made the dress out of. And I attached all the tulle on by just tying it in knots onto a piece of ribbon, and sort of tied that around the waist, and so they all came down. And then after I did that, I put the dress on, this is a panel lace that I believe is still available from Craft Supplies for You, but she does have a couple of different panel laces. They're sold by the yard. And so it's quite a wide piece of lace, and this is just part of it. It's very pretty. It doesn't have the pearls or the rhinestones on it. I added that. But it's got a beautiful pattern on it. And it's a heavy cotton crochet almost type fabric. So it's got some good weight to it, which lent itself well to put over top of that layer of tulle, because it gave it a nice body to it. And then on the bottom of that material, and that material had a bit of a scallop on the bottom, so it came up and down a little bit and then up and down. I attached this other lace that's from Craft Supplies for You, and I think she still has some of this in the store too. I've had it in my stash for a while. I made a project with it in pink, and this is the soft gray blue color with silver butterflies on it. And it has this really beautiful edge of the lace. It's sort of this blue iridescent with a white thread running through it. So how did I attach that? I'm trying to remember if I glued it or sewed it, because I did both on this. I think I glued that on. I just very lightly glued that all along the bottom of the lace of the dress to make this big ruffle, so that when it sits on a dresser or table or somewhere, you get this beautiful big skirt. on the top, yeah, I can show you through here. This is the top of the dress form. This is the bust area here in the back. I covered the dress form with this lovely beaded and sequined white lace from Cross Supplies For You. And I wished I had brought some out. I don't even know if I have any left, but it's really pretty, and I know she still has it in the store, and it has these little sequins that are attached in the center, and then these little crystal-y looking little beads all the way around on the flowers. I covered the bodice with that first because I knew I wanted to use the same lace that I had put on the bottom of the dress. I wanted to use that to fashion the top of the dress. And I just fashioned it. I made it sort of have these big sort of butterfly type sleeves. The arms would come out the side here if someone was wearing this dress. And so I made these big puffy sleeves, which some of the dresses at the Oscars this year had sleeves like that, and I sort of got my inspiration from that. And then I used the same edging that was on the lace. I cut that off, and then I used that to go up the center of the dress here, and then I put a rhinestone chain, really tiny little rhinestone chain up the front. I fashioned a little collar out of that same trim and put that at the top. So that's how I fashioned the top of the dress. And then this is a bling piece from Craft Supplies For You, and it's all pearls with little pearl beads and dangles. And so I put that, got a little stray thread there that of course I can't ignore. That in the center here of this dress coming down. I thought it was made sort of a statement piece on the front of the dress. And then to tie in with the pearls and the rhinestones, I added rhinestones and pearls along part of the lace along the bottom of the dress and a couple up higher here on the dress. So that's the front and what it looks like. And then the back, I'll set it back down and sort of arrange it here and then tip it. So the back of the dress has the sleeves, of course, and you can see the little top of the neckline. I put another little piece of that trim down the back of the dress, and that goes right down to the waistline. And then I put these 3 flowers here at the back of the dress. These are also from Craft Supplies For You, and I just stickled up the satin part of the flowers so that they were quite sparkly. And then I used half of probably about a 10-inch doily to make this little bag with. So I've created a little crocheted bag, and I just cut it in half, and then I sewed down the one seam and across the bottom, and then created a little circle drawstring on the bottom here, so I closed it up. And then I glued it into the back of the dress form. So you can see a little bit, you can see the lining in the back of the dress form that matches the dress material. And then I just at the back at the top. So the bag otherwise is free. I just put some little colored stones in the bottom of it because, I mean, you could put a lot of things in there. There's quite a bit of room. I put a little drawstring in there of some seam binding, and then it opens up quite wide. So you can see that you could fit quite a good amount of either a gift in there, quite a good size gift, or small things in there, and then you could just tie it up, tie it closed. So that's what it looks like from the back of the dress. And I only attached this ruffle to the edge of the dress itself, because if you start trying to attach anything to the little bag, you affect how it's able to open and what you're able to put in there. From the front, you can't even see the fact that there's a little piece of that lace missing right away. It's actually not evident until you looked around the side. So that's my little dress form gift bag that I have created for my design team project for Craft Supplies For You. And if you're interested, I am going to carry on and just show you a little bit of how I make the dress form. And I also will put some pictures at the end for closer up look. A piece of parchment paper. This is my Barbie doll that I use. And I really found it easier to get a Barbie doll and then just take off her head and her arms, because they just get in the way. I tried at first to leave it intact. I don't know, it just bothered me to have to dismantle the Barbie. But honestly, if you're going to do a lot of these dress forms, it just makes your life easier. And you can use any kind of paper you want. This particular one, I started it with music paper. I'm probably going to do a second layer on this one with napkin overlay on it. So I thought the music paper would look nice. It's nice to wrap the Barbie dress form in some saran wrap, as you can see I've done, because it then later on when it's all dry, you just slice up the back of the saran wrap, you just pull the dress form off the Barbie and it comes off really easily. And then you just have to use some Mod Podge and paper to mend that back seam, or if your dress covers it all, you don't even need to worry about it. So what I found works really well, and this I started this about a half an hour ago, so it's pretty dry already, is I find that if I decide sort of the style of the dress I want and I start putting my papers on with that style in mind, particularly the neckline, I find that I have less cutting to do afterwards. You certainly can trim and cut it to take on whatever shape you want to, but if you start out with an idea in mind, it's really helpful. So what I did to start here was I just took my pieces of my long strips that I had of the music paper, and I just went from the back across the sides where her arms were and did a V right down and back again and did it the other way. So I got an off the shoulder type gown shape with the V in the front. And then I added 2 more pieces of paper down here going around her hips. And now you just continue to Mod Podge. My Mod Podge is watered down, so it's about a 1-to-1 of Mod Podge and water. If you don't want plain paper showing, then just rip that off. It's important when you're putting your paper on, you definitely apply it and mold it really well over the bust line so that you get a nice bust line. Now this particular Barbie that I have is one of the more modern ones, so she has sort of some hips to her and a smaller bust line. She's not your traditional Barbie with the big boobs and the small hips. So I mean, that's just the one I bought. So you know, if you have a particular thought in mind about what your dress forms to look like, then make sure you buy a Barbie that has those. If you can find one in a thrift store, that's probably the best way to go, since I do find that dismantling it really is the easiest. Just using your fingers and really massaging that paper in and sort of pleating it over the breast gives you the nice form that you want. And I find that when you first start with putting the Mod Podge on, that you can touch it and put your fingers on it, and then it gets to a point where it's really sticky and it pulls off when you're doing that. So that's when I back off and leave it alone and just carry on with other sections. And I have put some right onto the saran wrap, and then also I put some over top. So there's some underneath and some over top. But I just find that at this point when I'm first putting it on, it's kind of like when you do paper mache with, well, I used to do it when I was a kid and used to put it on paper on balloons, that it just seems to work really well when you massage it in with your hands. So that's all you're doing, and you just keep doing that until the whole Barbie is covered. And I take my dress forms right down to the tops of their legs, because that way I have room to trim it back if I want to. I have lots of room to attach my dress onto, and better to have more than not enough. So like I said, if you have that all on there like that, I can just, I just tear my music paper. I just find it easier, quicker, And you can tear it into whatever size you're comfortable with. If you don't like the longer strips, then use smaller strips. And if you know, for instance, I just want to put a little piece across here because it's not real, it's sort of the two pieces that are there are not really straight. So I ripped it to fit because it just makes more sense to do that. So I will just get a good amount of Mod Podge on there and then smooth it down, smooth down the edges, and then it's good to go. And then I can just put these couple of pieces down here. And the dress form is best done with 2 layers of paper, but I find the second layer of paper is better if it's put on once the first layer, of course, is completely dry. And I also find it easier to cut the dress form off when it's only 1 layer. I would put enough down to cover all the way down to the tops of her legs here, so that means a little bit more paper down here. Then I would leave this to completely dry, and then I would cut it up the back and take it off this dress form. Take the saran wrap off the back. It will come, it just lifts, it just peels right off. And then I would put a second layer of paper or napkin if you're going to use napkin. Whatever you're going to use, then I would put my second layer on. That's just very quickly and simply how I do my dress forms, and they work out really well. And it's easy then to make other projects with them. I hope you find that helpful. And I will attach some pictures at the end. And I hope you guys all have a great day. Bye for now.